Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Tuesday Talk here with Polaris Orchestra. I am founder and music director, Jaman E. Dunn. I am once again adorned with my Death Star mug, as you can see. And I am joined today by three fantastic colleagues of mine. We have Lina Gonzalez Granados, who is conducting fellow of both the Philadelphia Orchestra and the Seattle Symphony Orchestra. We have Kalina Bovell, who is the assistant conductor of the Memphis Symphony Orchestra. And we have Jonathan Taylor Rush, assistant conductor of the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra. I have known all three of these colleagues for a bit of time. I've known Jonathan the longest. We went to undergrad together at Ohio State. So it's wonderful to have all three of you. Welcome.
Well, thank you for having us.
Of course, of course. So why don't we start with you, Lina? Just tell us a little bit about what your life is right now, sort of as we're trying to come out of COVID.
So it's been a year since we've been here, and I think in September was my first concert. I am mainly freelancing at this moment, so every week or 2 weeks I fly to wherever they called me or whichever engagement I still had from my season, my pre-COVID seasons, which unfortunately are not that many.
Mhm.
But basically my life revolves around petting my dog, cooking tacos because it's my favorite food, and just playing my piano in order to stay connected with the music. So I'm just calling and texting Kalina.
Yeah.
Facts. That is facts.
That's amazing.
That is
That's
it,
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yes.
I'm just sort of going in like a L shape of what I see on my screen. So Kalina, you're next.
It's funny. My friends and I kind of joke about this all the time. Like life stopped during the pandemic, and somehow I got even busier than I was pre-COVID. So which I am incredibly grateful for. I made my international debut back in November with Chineke. I've done a lot of speaking. I've done a lot of collaborations. I have my MSO debut coming up in April. And then MSO has been dark for January and February, but we actually started our pre-rehearsals last week. And this week we go into rehearsals for our first Masterworks concert. And so it's just been really busy, and I have some summer engagements coming up, and I'm already lining up engagements for next season. So like I said, I somehow managed to keep my name out there and keep working, which I'm just so grateful for.
That's fantastic.
And then also, calling and texting Lena like all the time.
Oh yeah. See, this is the great thing because we all know each other and we all know each other. So it's just this is just fun. How about you, John?
Kalina, you hit it right on the top of the nail. Honestly, I thought my life would be fairly bland during COVID, but then all of a sudden it ended up being the most, not stressful, but definitely the most busy time I've ever had, especially when it comes to conducting. But most of my time is spent in rehearsals every single week. I'm conducting the BSO. Myself and my colleague Nick Hirsch were pretty much taking on the bulk of the responsibilities when it comes to putting out, each episode for BSO sessions. And so it's really just piece after piece, getting a piece maybe 1 week before I have a concert, or maybe even 3 days before I have a concert, and having to make it work, and trying to enjoy my weekends. I don't want to sound like, a poo party. Like, I'm having a great time, but it's just funny how, I was going from doing nothing, having this life, enjoying my weekends, having a good time, able to, sit out on the porch. But now it's like, I have to be inside. I have to study. And then obviously on top of that, doing church.
Yeah, exactly. Wow.
Yeah. But it's a fun time. I'm having a great time out here in Baltimore.
That's fantastic. So
How about you, Jamal?
how
What are
about
you
me?
keeping?
Oh,
Yeah,
well.
of course. Let us flip the
Yeah, well,
pancake here.
it is a lot. It is a lot of work trying to start a nonprofit and then having colleagues working with you to like make that happen. And it's been a lot of fun. It really has been a lot of fun. It's just been stressful at times just because, I'm having to like learn a lot of things that I may not have been sort of as much on the ball with before, because I hadn't really had to flex that muscle in that way, whatever it was. And then Buffalo Phil, we were dark last summer, but ever since September, we've been kind of trying to put out stuff for the Western New York community. I've been able to conduct a fair amount of education things, which is great. I also have done a couple Pops concerts. So it's a lot of fun. We're doing our yearly West Side Connection concert that's coming up in a couple weeks. The thing I love about this concert, so I programmed some things on this concert that you normally, one of the best things about COVID, one of the few best things about COVID in music is that you get to explore some repertoire that you wouldn't otherwise play because the ensembles are smaller. Mm-hmm. So I'm doing on this program, the Sphinx Junior winner from last year is coming to play Mozart 4 First Movement.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Esme Arias Kim. And then I'm doing the fourth movement of the Dvorak String Serenade. I'm doing a piece called Tracing Lines by Jonathan Bailey Holland, who's a professor at my alma mater, Boston Conservatory. I am doing the wind quintet arrangement of Umoja by Valerie Coleman.
Nice.
And I'm doing Gabriela Elena Frank's Escaramuzza. So
I'm doing that too.
Yeah, see? So it's just gonna be a fun program of just funness, because that's just the way I love the program. So but yeah, so that's been pretty much life here, COVID around, masking and testing and all kind of stuff. But something I wanted to ask, so all of us pretty much have become busier, and taking nothing away from the work that we've put in to be where we are today, the conductors that we are, the skill set that we have, how much of the extra work feels targeted in any way by whomever it is? So there's work that we would have gotten, somebody comes up to say, hey, can you program a concert, but how many people have come up to you and said, so in the month of February, we have this concert coming up, or in the month of September, Lena, we have this concert coming up, or in the month of March, Lena and Kalina, we have this, so how much, if any, of that have you experienced?
Or Cinco de Mayo, or Dia de Muertos, exactly. Or anything that has a day that rhymes with Spanish and English, Taco Day. Dia del Taco, Dia del Frijol,
Exactly. Any of you can go, anybody.
I mean, honestly, it hasn't been that much. So I got asked to, since a lot of things are virtual, I got asked to speak to the Links organization based in Memphis for International Women's Day, or Month for March. And I was like, okay, that's cool. But when it came to Black History Month, I actually didn't get asked a whole lot. And I figured, again, it's because a lot of people weren't able to do many things in person. There was one organization, a school, that asked me to do kind of like a virtual conducting project. And when she asked me my fee, she was like, oh. And I was thinking, well, you're not getting some country bumpkin, you're getting assistant conductor of Memphis. This is, it's you have to pay us for what we're worth, quite honestly. But, I'm always happy to work with students. And I even said, my fee is negotiable. But I think the fee initially scared her. And it was that was the last time I heard from that, But no, honestly, I figured if everyone were doing things in person, the opportunities would be much more abundant. But, I'm still thankful for whatever opportunities come my way.
I would say that it hasn't been more than I get asked regularly. So I've been in this, even before Philadelphia, I don't know if you know, I founded my own orchestra, and it was focused on Latin American composers. And that brought a myriad of opportunities to explore repertoire that I normally do in my normal day, only in those dates, exactly. So I think, and also, within my orchestra, I have done a women's initiative, which it was 2017, I think, that I did a whole women's season. So this is pre-pandemic, and I was already doing the work that everybody's reacting to. And, so in that sense, it hasn't changed much. Then it hasn't, but still I get some of those opportunities flagged at my manager, and he knows what to do or what I ask him to do regarding that.
Yeah, interesting. I wouldn't call it targeted. Like, I wouldn't say
Mhm.
people are targeting me like, hey, you have to conduct this Black composer.
Yeah.
But and I would also say it's not anything that I haven't asked for. If I can present a piece or if there's a composer that I suggest and they're like, okay, we want to program it, then it's like, of course you're gonna go ahead and conduct it, because I guess I would feel some type of way if I presented a piece and they were like, yeah, we're gonna have somebody else conduct it for you. And I mean, when you get me, I'm going to program as many works from like minority composers as I can. And so like, if that's the case where I am conducting a whole concert and it just happens to be, all Black composers, that's because I did it. It's not because they're like, hey, here's a Black history program. We need a Black conductor. John, can you come here and do this? So it's really just, I mean, I'm sure there's probably been people who have done that, and I have had gigs in February or opportunities in February it wasn't a Black history specific program, but it was a Black history.
Yeah, exactly. You're like,
Exactly.
Right. So like, I mean, I've been there, done that, but since COVID, I mean, kind of along the same line of Kalina, there really hasn't been many opportunities for people to put out a concert and say, hey, we need you for this.
You know what piece actually I get asked to be like to do multiple times a year every season? It's like, oh, you're Latina. Why don't you do bolero? And I'm like, what?
Seriously?
Okay.
Yes. I mean, I'm not telling you this, like, it's not one concert. I mean, it's a showstopper. It really puts people in seats. It's a great opportunity. And also it's a masterpiece. I'm not saying that I don't like it. If I have the opportunity, I will conduct it. But it's like, you're Latina, why don't you do bolero? Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, no, I would rather do other pieces for Latin, like Latin history, Hispanic history, whatever, women's history, Latin, blah, 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 all of these prepackaged concerts. But bolero is not a Spanish piece. You know? You know what I mean? It's by a French person. Also, I've gotten like a lot of like French Spanish programs that have no Spanish people in it, or Latino concerts with not one piece that is like for a Latino composer.
I honestly thought you were gonna say like people ask you to do the danzón.
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say
because
that
usually because usually it's like, oh, Latin American concert, Arturo Marquez, we have to program the danzón, and you're like, he wrote a lot more than danzón. There are many more composers out there too.
Or even I was saying, or like even when it comes to us, or like even somebody like me, jazz gospel influence, then it's like, all right, why don't you do Gershwin? And I'm like,
that is a white Jewish man from the United States. Like, he is not Black.
I can literally bring you anybody else.
He ain't Black.
Oh my God.
Like, taking nothing away from Gershwin, but Gershwin is not Black. No. So it's, so don't use that sort of a substitute. But with the sort of comment that Kalina just made about the danzón, it's like, we need a Black piece. Let's do, taking nothing away from the man's merit as a composer or his other pieces. Let us do Walker's Lyric for Strings. And I'm like, okay, first of all, George Walker has a Pulitzer for not that piece. Second of all, there are so many other pieces you could do. Third of all, I feel like you're just trying to say, we kind of did Adagio, but we did the Black man's Adagio. So, and I'm just like, it's just like, there are so many other people. Or when people throw out William Grant Still's name as like the only Black composer that's ever existed.
Or Samuel Coleridge Taylor. And I don't want to talk badly about Coleridge Taylor, because I love his music. And I want to be a champion of his music. But I'm always like, he was Black British, so not Black American, so to make that differentiation. But then it's like, what about Coleridge Taylor Perkinson or Valerie Coleman? Or Tyshawn Story, it's like there are all of these people that don't get programmed and don't get looked at.
And then the question is, it's like, how do we as champions of all of these composers sort of present the names that are not spoken about as much without like underrepresenting the people that we want to do, because we love because we don't want to send the message of, Still isn't good enough or Samuel Coleridge Taylor isn't good enough, because that's not what we're trying to say. So how do we how do we like both, present the names that are already out there, but add more names so that people will stop gravitating to the same three pieces? Yeah, it's
I
just like
think,
really hard.
I mean, I will tell you at least what I do, because I don't think there is a definite recipe for programming. But what I do with my season is that before I even before I even program anything with an orchestra, I already have a list of pieces that I really want to do and that I must do, and in those I always include a huge percentage, 50%, of my, I don't want to say minority, like underrepresented composers of all kinds, Native Americans, women composers of color, women composers of no color, and that they have extraordinary pieces. And I do my own season per se before going to somewhere. And for example, I got this call for an orchestra in Europe which wanted to do like an Americas, so North and South program, and they wanted to do a violin concerto, barber, and then the adagio. And then I would say, why don't we do George Walker adagio if we already have a violin concerto? So it's like a trade and thing, even with the pieces that I know and the pieces that are already sounding, in the noise of the audience, to just make sure that the noise doesn't get only in just one place and it resonates everywhere. So that's how I try to do. And then with that, I end up with actually a pretty fruitful experience with sometimes 10 shares and 3 boleros. But like you can do whatever, like you can do so much. Like at least the intention is there. I think it starts with the purpose. And then from then on, then you can negotiate. But if there is like not an intention of having this program philosophy under your belt, like way ahead, if than anybody else, it's really hard to follow, like or be a trend. And like I don't think of myself as trendsetter. I just like program pieces that I like. But at the same time, like I want people to hear those pieces. So in that sense, yes, you have to think like a trendsetter, and that therefore you have to think ahead.
I think Lena makes a really good point in that your programming has to be intentional and there has to be a purpose behind it, and I think that's the main kind of nugget that gets lost when it comes to programming, especially now. When it comes to a lot of organizations that have committed themselves to programming works by Black composers. I mean, I think that's fantastic, but I always say, make sure the intent is genuine, not just doing it because you decided to jump on a bandwagon.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's just, John, I mean,
it's like everyone's saying, it's all about it's all about, presenting some form of alternative to a point where you're not making the other composer look bad, or you're not making that, make it look like, they're not valuable, they don't have anything valuable, but it's just like, hey, look, this composer also there's other composers who write this type of music. There's not just 3 that we know about. They're great, but let's present something new. They're already getting played out, if you will. Let's present something new, and let's keep presenting something new until we have a whole canon of just these composers, rather than just the big 5 that we just choose from.
Exactly.
Yeah, and isn't that beautiful that we get to see this year, at least, that the lyric for orchestra is on the canon now. Even if we get tired of conducting it, now it's in the canon, it's in the conversation, and we made it happen. So at some point, that for me, that's the compromise. Okay, sometimes maybe I have to do a piece various times, but at the same time, it's like, man, I'm so glad that I did it various times, and that some people are doing it various times.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try to squeeze. So I know Kalina has to bow out because she has to go take a wonderful COVID test. So I'm trying to.
Well, I meant 3:30 my time. So I still have a little bit of time.
Sorry.
I forget that we're not in the same time zone.
We're not in the same time zone. So okay. So look, great. I ain't got to squeeze it in then. Yes, listeners, you have now realized that we're recording this and not the time you're probably seeing it, but it doesn't matter because it's fine. But so here's the next question. I know John knows this, but the two of you have probably heard it as well. In the choral world, whenever people sort of bring up William Dawson or Moses Hogan or, you know, any African-American composer that tends to write in a spiritual or a gospel style, there is something that comes about as, quote, not sounding Black or not sounding authentic. And so what will happen is a choir director will, you know, do something and then the choir will sound, quote, white, whatever that means. Normally what that means is just your, there is no roundness to your sound. It's just very, you know, in a box. So if we were to take that sort of vernacular and apply it to the orchestral world, if you felt that you needed to sort of train, I guess the best way to say this is, if you are introducing a piece to an ensemble that is unfamiliar with that vernacular, how do you rehearse that ensemble so that they can embrace the vernacular and play the piece as it was written, as opposed to playing the piece in the style of somebody else?
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a good question.
So are you referring to, like, you know, this composer put a groove into this piece, so don't play it so square, and, you know, yes,
exactly.
Be,
that's a good example. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was trying to
figure out,
because actually it's going to be really funny because this week I'm actually doing a piece that I might have to rehearse.
Yes.
But honestly, I feel like, you know, the best way for me, because I always want to say, you know, just feel the groove. But a lot of people just will never know what the groove is when it comes to, you know, music that wasn't, you know, it's written a certain way, but it wasn't meant to necessarily sound so,
exactly.
It needs a little more, like, you know, and so.
I'm already dancing here.
Right.
Exactly.
What is it again?
I think, you know, one thing that I do, and I think just one of the best things that I do, and a lot of people dislike me for this, I sing it to them, number one, but then I'm also, like, you know, beating it out, or you might catch me even dancing while I'm conducting, not to, you know, get in the way of the music, no, but to help them actually feel exactly what this music is supposed to feel like. And I tell them, don't worry about being so square. Don't worry about, you know, getting it right to fall right in time. Like, just let it, it's so hard, but it's just like, let it flow and just go. I mean, that's the vernacular that I can use. It's probably not the best at all, but it seems to work.
Yeah, well, before either one of you comment, I'm just going to say something that I do say a lot that I know that some people, it sort of drives them insane. I will say to the ensemble, stop counting. The reason why I say that is because if you keep counting, you're trying to line up with sort of a preconceived notion of where the beat should fall. And that in turn will make it more square than it's supposed to be. So it's something with a groove, like for example in Escaramuzza, the main thing, you know, the main theme after a while is bum 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 ba-dee, bum beam ba-dee, bum bum ba-dee. And so, you know, it's like you're sitting there and you're like, I can't go da 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 da, because it starts to create sort of this thing of this is where it fits right here. And so if you don't think of it that way, it always fits right, or at least in my experience, it always just fits right in a way. Now, Lena's giving me a look, which makes me feel like she's gonna come back and say something. But anyway, I'm gonna stop talking now.
No, sorry. No, I respectfully disagree with Gabriela's music,
Okay.
your approach to Gabriela's music, but I respect it and accept it. Just disagree because it's a different way to feel Latin American music. And I think she really does, after like exploring her music in depth, the best thing that have happened to me is to actually feel it how she writes it, because she writes it so well. So it's the only way for that groove to be born is to honor what she writes strictly. But that's something that with that are approaches to conducting that sorry if I just go and tell you that. It's just
no, this is why this conversation exists. This is literally why this
yeah,
conversation exists.
exactly.
So,
No, so this is why we live here. I
mhm,
think in the case of Latin American music, because there's so many groups and styles, I think there Jonathan touched upon something really important. At least in my experience, I think the most important is to take the anxiety out of it. You know, so get it. Try for me. I think, or not for me. Like I consider myself like a bridge
mhm,
where like there are two like I don't know, 2 points of view, and my job is to make those 2 points of view closer.
okay,
What is in the score and what is there in the style. So I never say, oh, it has to be to a square or it has to be like this, or but I try to see how I can make it closer to their experience as much, and
mhm,
then that's how it's born there.
okay,
But talking about, I mean, for example, what you say about being a square or not in some groups, like you have to know what the group is.
mhm,
You cannot see it, you know, like for example, if you tell me about those composers that you just mentioned and I didn't know, then of course it's gonna sound bad because it's not, my experience is not rooted in the expertise that the music deserves.
mhm,
So in that sense, I think that my absolute compromise is just to know the hell out of that music
mhm,
and to know how the style works, to
mhm,
know what are the common trends into like how this music is approached with other composers, and if there is a thread sometimes, for example, that is like a huge how do I say, challenge in Latin music or Latino
mhm,
music, Latinx music, because, for example, someone as who writes as exact like ink as Gabriela might not be the same as another Peruvian-based composer. You know, like other people have other experiences in order to approach the music. But yeah, the job is to know which one is which and how
mhm.
does it work at least in my experience. Sorry, that's my phone. Um,
No, you're fine.
yeah, but that's how I see it. It's like getting the anxiety out of it and tell them it's not like a pat in the back. It's just like we're closer to the process, or we are closer to the product. The
Mhm,
closer that I mean, the ideal position is to arrive closer to the product in a faster time. But
mhm.
if not, like it's just the patience to know that at least you're gonna be close. Sometimes you're like far away to like far you can go, but at least you tried.
Okay. Colleen, I'm gonna let you speak, but Lena, I want to come back to what you just said because it's really important. There's something really important there. Kalina, go ahead.
Yeah, what I was going to mention is, basically what both Jonathan and Lena have said. The first thing that came to my mind was just trying to make yourself as well versed as possible within the
Mhm,
style of that music and the composer's intention. Like, I'm really spoiled here in Memphis in that this orchestra can play any style, whether it's jazz, R&B, pop, rock, like they can do it
mhm,
all. And a lot of our, especially like our brass players, like they are big band players. And so I've had conversations with like principal trumpet and trombone, and I have asked them about, why they approach a note this way, or like why the style is this way, because I honestly don't know. And so now I can say I know a little bit more than I did before.
mhm,
But no, I think those are the most important things. It's just trying to immerse yourself in that sonic world so that when you step in front of that group, you know how to approach it. And as Lena said, you can then bring them closer to the composer's vision.
mhm, mhm. So Lena, I want to thank you for disagreeing with me and explaining to me why, because that's something that I feel like we don't do a lot in this field. I feel like there is a sort of this like sort of assumed thing that once you get to a point you just need to know it, and there's no like visible representation of you continuing to learn. And I've studied the piece. I thought I knew what was going on, but Lena just gave me a perspective that I did not have, and now that's going to inform the way that I then go and rehearse this piece in 2 weeks. So it's
Yeah.
just we never stop learning as musicians, as conductors, as leaders. And it, it's indicative of like stuff like this, me saying what I think I saw, and then Lena going, well, I disagree because, and then tells me why, gives me so much information that I can then take and say, okay, let me adopt this to what I'm doing. Because first of all, she has more experience in the style, A. B, she has more experience with Gabriela Lena Frank's music in general. So this is just, things that I can then go back and say, okay, so I've received new information. But I feel like too often as conductors, we're like assumed by either players, or it's been the culture for so long that we just have to know it. And when you never see anybody learning after they get out of school. You don't actually see people learning anymore. You just kind of know, and it just happens.
But I think it's also too that we're in these positions where we are supposed to know everything, and we've been told, at least I know I have been, if you don't know an answer, pretend like you do and just keep it moving. Yeah. Right. But I mean, and Lena and I have been talking about this a lot recently, where, I've just been rethinking just my own approach to score study. And with that, it's like I've completely been trying a new approach for the past month and a half or so, and I've been incorporating all of these new things. And so some people would think, oh, again, you've made it, so it's kind of like you've reached your pinnacle. And it's like, honestly, if you feel like you have made it as a conductor, well, then you might want to rethink what you're doing, because you're learning for the rest of your life. It's like there's so much repertoire in the canon. There's no way you could learn it in your lifetime.
Right, exactly.
Exactly. I think one important point that I want to make is that I think for perspective of your audience, is that we got to know each other in an extremely beautiful way, and we were both learning and agreeing and disagreeing a lot in the same, like every breakfast that we had was a conversation, and Jaman, I would be always the first one to get my coffee, and Jaman would get into breakfast. We were at Tanglewood together in the seminar, and then we would be always the last to leave the cafeteria, because we would be talking nonstop. So this is like a normal dynamic between the two of us, that we agree or disagree. It's just that it can't be recorded.
I miss that. I really do.
Yeah, but I think, oh my God, there's so many things to say. One is that I think the most beautiful friendships that I had are those that I get to be my true self. And I think with you this is the opportunity, because I see you and I can be my true self. The same with Colleen, and now with Jonathan. So yes, I'm never afraid to disagree. And actually one of my best examples, and this is like not a free, this is not like a paid endorsement or anything. It's just one of my bosses, Yannick Nesesegan in Philadelphia. We sit down with the score to give notes, and I say, Yannick, what do you think about this note? And he says, I agree, or yes. And then he would go into the podium and he would give me credit for my idea in front of the orchestra, which is beautiful. And sometimes he would say, no, it's absolutely wrong. No, he would never say that. He's like, I respectfully disagree. The same is like, yeah, this is, I don't hear it that way, and let's move on. But the fact that there is a space where that you can be heard, and you can be seen, and you can be understand, and has given me the energy to always disagree and be unapologetically about it, even in a public forum. So I love you, Jaman. I'm always happy to talk to you about Scaramuza.
And, just to add, I just believe, and Jamal's going to get me for this phrase I'm about to use, but I believe it's truly of paramount importance that, we do have these types of conversations, because it's what allows us to grow. And I mean, you all just like, once again, hit the nail on the top of the head with this whole idea that, we do feel and we're taught that we have to know absolutely everything. And I mean, even as a young conductor, extremely like baby conductor, I can tell a lot of
super
people,
young compared to
but I can tell a lot of people, like especially those who want these jobs, even want to be inside of this position, to get out of that mindset. because that's one thing that held me back, like, you know, my first few months here in Baltimore. You know, I got up there, stood on the podium, and then, you know, I would get asked a question, or I would get asked a question that I just did not know the answer to, but I'd be up there wasting time trying to figure out a way to BS, you know, an answer, because I felt like I needed to know everything. And I felt like I just had to do all of this, and I had to be very knowledgeable. I'm not a string player at all. And I'm like, oh, but I think you have to use this stroke, or I think, you know, it needs to be an up bow. And they're like, what? And I'm like, I don't know. And it wasn't until I had a meeting with some people from the players committee, which they're so kind to me. You know, they just put me on the side and they said, hey, look, how can we help you? And then they got up there and they just pretty much said, you know, if you don't have certain vocabulary, we can help you with that. Or if you need some help in terms of like sound, or like, or they just tell us what the orchestra responds to. They can tell me what the orchestra responds to. They're like, you know, we don't respond to very, very, you know, like detailed, hey, you know, play it right in this beat, this time. Like, no, but they respond to how the music is supposed to sound, you know, and they want to get an idea of how it sounds to me. And that way, once I explain that to them, then it's just completely different. But, you know, when you go into an environment acting like, you know, you have to know everything, like, you know, everything, it really prevents you from actually growing and being your truest best self. And then once they really told me that it's okay, we don't expect you to know all of this, it literally just freed me up. And I feel like from that point on, everything was just so much smoother, and it felt so much easier. And I felt like I actually belonged. And so that's some advice that anybody needs. Just go in there expecting to learn some things, you know, don't go.
You know, and that's amazing. And I think that also gets lost when you know, have your first job as assistant, or just when you know, you land your first job just in the field itself. Well, before I started at Memphis, I emailed my predecessor, Andrew, and I said, you know, can we just have a conversation? You know, what can I expect? What were some things that help you? What advice would you give? And he said the same thing as Jonathan. He said the orchestra knows and will understand that you're learning. And so just be open to them and learn who they are as an identity, you know, because each orchestra has a different identity that you have to basically pick up on. And so once he told me that, I was kind of like, okay, you know, it's okay to make mistakes, because honestly, they know that I'm going to fail, but it's the trying and keep going once you know you have done something that doesn't serve them well, you know, to do it again and be better for them, because it's not about you. So I think that's beautiful that the orchestra community was able to tell you that.
Yeah, we, you know, one thing that I credit my teacher, Bruce Hangen, at Boston Conservatory. I will plug that man every day. I love him to death. Bruce, one of the things that he taught us was, he was like, you know, you're the conductor, you stand up there, but you don't make a sound. You know, you don't make a sound at all. You know, all the sound comes from those in front of you. And the way that he described conducting, two specific ways that I will carry to me as long as I'm in this career, because I live by them, is that you are a servant leader and you are not the horse, you are merely guiding the reins. And I love those two things.
That's great.
Yeah, I love those two things, because the servant leader thing is the really, really big one. You know, you're not up there to sort of like wave your arms and like be the most flashy person in the world, or be like, you know, me. Like none of that is what we do. You know, we lead by serving, because we're serving by, you know, communicating with the musicians. What do they need from us to know what the vision is? What do they need to know? You know, how can we best help them? How can they best help us? It's a symbiotic relationship. And I feel like people too often sort of treat it as sort of like, you know, master and apprentice, or like, you know, just like kind of on the box and not on the box. And it's truly a symbiotic relationship. You know, we have to work together. Otherwise the music, it doesn't matter what it is, you know. And one of the things that I can always hear, a piece could be technically perfect, but I can hear if there's actual intent behind it or not. And that is something that nobody really trained me how to do. I just can, and I don't know how. And I just consider it a blessing that I'm able to do that. But I can sit in a concert, and if there's no intent behind it, I can feel it. And I go out of that concert going, okay, the notes were perfect, but, you know, there was some disconnect between the players and the conductor or something like that, because they, either the players don't want to be there, or the conductor wasn't really nice in rehearsals, or whatever it is. But the more we as conductors make that a symbiotic relationship, and the more we reveal to the musicians that we want to serve them more than lead them or direct them, so to speak, that it just becomes a better thing overall. And then, the sort of, you're not the horse, you're merely guiding the reins. The horse is what takes you places. You're not taking anybody anywhere. You're just saying, hey, we'd like to go this way. And then the horse goes, okay, sure, because that's what you do with reins. And so as a conductor with the orchestra, you say, hey, I would like to go here, XYZ. And the orchestra goes, okay, let's go there then. But you can't like pick up the orchestra and take them there. That's not how that works. So that's my 2 cents about that.
That's so great about, our generation of conductors, or just the conductors of today in general. Everybody always talks about, back in the past, it was this dictatorship, and you do what I say, and you're going to do it. It's going to be done this way. But I feel like nowadays, we're all understanding that we're here to make music together. And we all have this, well, at least from what I see, we all have this idea or this philosophy that, hey, look, this is our experience. This is not my experience. It's not just your experience, but it's our experience, and we're doing it collectively for the same reason, I would hope. And so it's like, we're in this together. What do you, and a lot of people would disagree with this rehearsal process, but it's like, what do you think about this phrase? What does this phrase mean to you? How does this look to you? Yes, I have this interpretation. I'm going to try to stick with it, but how do you feel, we can best, get this, relay this picture, relay this idea together? It's not just me telling you what to do, but this is us, this is our experience. And so why not run a performance like that? Why not run a rehearsal like that? Why not make music like that? It's unifying, not separating.
Yeah, you actually just reminded me of something really fun. So in the sort of education concerts I did in the before times, so the last set I did, one of the things we did was we did the portion of the last movement of Still's Afro-American Symphony. And so right at the time change where it goes into 2, after this beautiful slow lento beginning of the movement, when it goes back into 2, everything just kind of picks up, and then the clarinet has like a little like 2-bar lick. It just goes dum ba da ba da ba da ba ba. And so anyway, we just played it the same way. And so one day I'm sitting there, and Will, the principal clarinetist, looks at me, and he raises an eyebrow, and I raise an eyebrow, which is basically sort of like this communication thing of like, he's going to do something different, and I'm just going to wait and see what it is. And then he did it. And so at the end of that, he does this pitch bend that just like bends right up, because, it's like, it's a completely blues style. So it makes sense. And so he like bends this pitch up, and then I look at him right after, and I was like, and I just kept going. and after the show, I walked up to him, and I was like, if you do that for every concert to the end of the year, I will be the happiest person in the world. And he was like, nice, I'll do it. And so he just kept doing it. And like, that's the environment that I want to foster as a conductor. I want musicians to feel like in the moment, hey, I've been thinking about this. This is something I think is really good. We play that concert like, 15 times a season. So, it's like one concert for this group of kids that we, play for different groups of kids throughout the year. And so the fact that he wanted to do that and was able to do that's the environment I want to foster. I want musicians to feel like, hey, I want to take a chance here. The conductor's allowing me to take a chance. I'm gonna take a chance. And then, if it didn't work at all, I would like look at him and be like, and I would come up to him later and be like, yeah, I kind of liked it, but I don't think that works. Or I didn't really like it. I think yeah, exactly. But you don't bust him out in front of the other people. You walk up to him when he's off doing his thing, and you have a civil conversation with him. You don't yell at him. You don't get angry. You just say, hey, I wasn't the biggest fan of that. And then, and if they're a great colleague and a good person to work with, they'll be like, okay, cool, I won't do it anymore. And they won't do it anymore. Like it's, you have to give people the ability, the sort of space to be musicians, as well as being sort of a member of the orchestra as well, if that makes sense. Yeah. So that's just wow. I just love talking about this stuff. You guys are just great people to talk to. This is a fun discussion.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's all of it. I think it, for me, ties up also to to always think about the musicians above anything else and what they need. And when that happens, then I don't know, the role as a conductor is ever changing and it's not a monolith, you know? So we have, like, for example, I would never conduct a family concert. Or a concert that has only like 1 hour of rehearsal, the same way that I have like a week of subscription. And that's just being compassionate to your musicians. That if your musicians need downbeats and something super, I mean, inspirational more than downbeats, of course. But if they need more clarity than what you can do in a subscription concert, like, then you have to do it. So knowing when you are like in the role of being a conductor as a collaborative person, when your role is just to do it, kind of Nike. And I think it comes from the love that you have for your musicians above yourself, you know, which is what you've been saying. It's just that I just want to say it again.
Thank you.
You know, because it's beautiful. I mean, the fact that we love this craft so much, but we're just like thinking about the musicians. For me, it's more than the music. How I fell in love with this profession. It's about being with people. And knowing that sometimes you just have to just do the downbeats and be clear, and that's what's gonna make the musicians happy and feel more comfortable and feel more safe. I think the other days that you can bend over, but if they feel uncomfortable or like absolutely unpredictable, because it has happened, it's not that I'm the clearest, more perfect person in the world in that regard, but at least I try to think of the musician. Anyway, I think that's what I wanted to say about leadership.
Thank you. Kalina, do you want to add anything to that?
No, well, maybe. I mean, again, like just hearing Lena speak, what just made me think of is knowing when the musicians need you, right? And then knowing when you can step away and just let them play. And so that was just something I thought about after Lena's statement.
That's entirely true. Because, you know, we're not making a sound. So when the musicians don't need you, and it will be very apparent, just be like, okay, I'm just chilling out. Here's a beat, there's a measure, do your thing. You know, and when they need you, you're right there. You know, and part of our training, part of what we need to know is know that it can change on a dime.
Exactly.
And be right there when we need to be, you know, and back up when we need to. And so, you know, that's just what it is. So we've come to the end of our time here. So I'm gonna give each of you however long you would like for some closing comments, but also if you have a dream sort of subscription program, what is it? And I'm gonna start with Kalina.
I mean, I don't.
Okay,
I don't
if you have a dream subscription today, like it could obviously change the next day, but like today, what comes to your mind? You
know, I don't have a dream subscription yet, but I have a dream piece that I would love to conduct.
That works too.
And that dream piece is Brahms 2. Like I have wanted to conduct Brahms 2 since 2010. It's such a special piece for me. And so anytime I program, it's like you will see some Brahms 2 on there. Maybe some Sibelius 2 as well. All the 2s. But no, that's honestly a piece that I would love to do, Brahms 2, because I love Brahms and his music.
John?
Yeah, I don't know if I have a dream subscription.
You can pick a piece. We'll change it to a piece. How about that?
Let's make it easier.
Easier. One piece.
This piece could just be a subscription concert on its own, and it's very requiem. Like I have to.
Yeah.
I feel like I just have to. I have to do it.
Yeah, I need it. It has to happen. Yeah. So, Kalina, give me your closing statements if you have any, because I forgot about that part of it.
What about, no, we have to keep this going though. We need to
all right.
Stream piece,
all right,
and then
Lena,
that way I can think about my closing statement.
Okay, great. Lena, your
thank you.
Piece.
Thank you for ignoring me, first of all, but
I didn't get it. Oh my God, no.
I'm gonna give you my. I feel like I can't die before conducting also Sprach. You know, that is the piece that I need to do before I die. Please, like hire me. You know, like hire me. Hire me for that. Yes. And the piece that and another piece that I love doing, and it's always like I always ask to program it, and some people follow and some people don't, is it's Gabriela Frank's Concerto for Orchestra, Walkabout. That piece has been like, when I did it for the first time, I was here and then I went there, you know, like I felt like I could conquer the world because that thing is awesome. So it's just like it makes me so happy and very anxious to conduct. But like good anxiety is just like, it's that energy like nonstop until the end. It's and I think it's the same as also Sprague. But I'm going to let you speak with your closing statements, Kalina.
Well, so here I'll give Kalina more time to think, because I guess I'll just say mine.
Like,
that's fine.
Do you want like inspirational closing statement?
I mean, you're the poet. Look,
hold on,
you can say whatever you want to say.
Am I on the clock right now as a poet? No. That's different. We need to.
No. Any just like last thoughts you'd want to say to anybody watching, listening to this, or you know, just in general about the field? But while you think about that, and I'm just going to ask all three of you, but while you think about that, I guess favorite pieces that I have to conduct before I die. This is like it changes, it varies. One piece that never changes, that always stays the same, and it could be a concert by itself again, is Mendelssohn's Elijah. I have to do Elijah before I die. Like, I refuse to not do Elijah before I die.
Yeah.
If I feel myself like going, I'm like, no.
Like, we will hold on.
Yeah, exactly. I will hold on. No, another piece in that vein that I have to do is Vaughan Williams' C Symphony.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Behold the sea itself. Yeah, but there's so many great pieces out there. One piece that I am positively addicted to right now that I would love to program the second I get a chance is Adolphus Stork's Symphony No. 3. If you've never listened to it, it's a great piece. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge to any of you.
That's not the one. That's not the one he wrote when he went to Africa. That's number 2, right?
Yeah, that's number 2. Number 2 is the one he wrote when he went to Africa.
Gotcha.
Number 3 is the one that starts Vivace. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge to anybody thinking about doing orchestra auditions anytime soon. There's a fantastic trumpet clip. Great little trumpet excerpt from the first movement. There's a very beautiful English horn excerpt from the last movement. Hashtag diversify orchestra excerpts, because we're trying to diversify the sort of the world in terms of repertoire, but we should also be diversifying in terms of orchestra excerpts for auditions, because there are many little snippets of things out there that you could easily put on a thing. There's stuff from Sukkot through Orion's Nebula from James Lee III. Like, there are so many excerpts in that piece. I was like looking at the score and I was like, good God, but it's a fantastic piece. So yeah, there's just stuff all over the place. So I will give my closing statements last. Kalina, if you're ready, I'll start with you, and then we'll go Jonathan and then Lena.
Still not ready, but I need a little bit more guidance. No, but honestly, I guess my lasting words was just how much fun this has been for me, and just how great it's been to come together with colleagues, and knowing where we all come from. I think sometimes the fallacy is that as a conductor, you either started early or you had all these accesses to resources. And my story is very different. That is not my story. But, I'm just feel very honored to have this platform and to be able to speak with friends, colleagues, and kind of share what we do with other people, and normalize it, and just kind of show that we're regular people who are hardworking. And so, yeah, thank you for this opportunity.
Of course.
we're regular people. What?
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah,
I'm not regular. I'm a queen.
Look here now. If I can pay my rent on time, I am a regular person. Thank you.
Look. Truth.
Yes, exactly. Listen, girl, listen.
Over here real quick. No. Honestly, I love being in an environment where, you know, like we're all connected in some way, shape, or form. You know, at least from my end of the branch, you know, like it's so great to, you know, reconnect with Jaman and then to see Lena and then to talk to you again, Colleen. Like, I mean, we've all had some sort of connection together. And I think that's so awesome that we can also sit here, you know, be in the jobs that we hold, but then also, you know, just have this opportunity to just talk, have a good time and relate to each other. Because I feel like so often conductors, especially once again, even in our age group, there's like half of our, you know, generation of conductors who feel like you can't talk to the other conductor because we're always in competition with each other or we're always going against them. But I truly believe our world won't get better if we don't all just get along and, you know, rather than separate ourselves, just, you know, have more opportunities like this to get to know each other and to have conversations and to really see the heart of people rather than judge from the outside or, you know, assume just because of how somebody looks what they're going to be like or what they're going to talk like or, you know, what music that they like. And I love this opportunity that we get to have together.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Lena?
I was like, where is the other phrase? Like how fun it has been. Now I feel, let's see. I get nervous when they say closing statements.
You're fine.
Well, first of all, like, thank you. Of course, it's really nice to just be friends. You know, in this time where we are so bounded by technology, the fact that we are really forging a true friendship, you know, like a true covenant of artists is just so beautiful. You know, I feel like that is so important that we actually have people that we can have on our speed dial and just say, hey, boo, how was your day? I love you. I'm here for you. You know, that is so important for us. And I feel like in all of you, there is an opportunity to do that. I want to say that I always wake up with one motto that I force myself a lot to follow. Sometimes it's harder than others because you said that to the audience. So in order to remind myself, I don't know if you can see it here in my let's see. Here, it says, be the voice and not an echo. And I think
that.
You know, like I wake up every day, come to my office when I'm tired to do and of course a Hello Kitty thing, they're lurking around, really creepy. But you know, you
keep it real. Keep it real.
Yeah, exactly. Live your truth. But for me, that is the truest way I can be. You know, be the voice, not an echo. Just like just follow your own path. You don't want to be anybody else's shadow. We'll be holding you together. Like we'll be there for you if you're just true to yourself. And that's what I just want to share with the world. Like I just want to be true to myself every day and give you my best and give everybody my best. If that's possible, sometimes it's not, but it's okay.
When it's not possible, that's when you eat cake.
Exactly. Right.
Exactly.
Look.
Or in Lena's case, tacos.
Yeah, right. Look, tacos. Look, those are good too. I want to thank all three of you for agreeing to be a part of this. It's been so much fun to have the three of you, to talk to all three of you. I guess for our viewers and listeners, because I didn't do this at the beginning. So again, I know John from undergrad at Ohio State. I met Lena at Tanglewood in the summer of 2019. We were both in the conducting seminar. I fangirled over Kalina before I even knew her when she was still in Connecticut. And then I saw her at Sphinx 2020 and I was like, oh my God, I have to introduce myself. And then we hit it off with we've known each other for 10 years. So it's just fantastic. So I'm really happy to be colleagues with the three of you. I'm really happy and blessed to feel like that I have a community that, you know, I can come to and ask questions and talk to and prop up, you know, and brag about, you know, and brag on. So it's just, you know, it's very special for me to be able to, you know, be in this position where I have friends such as you, friends such as these. And so again, I just want to thank you all so much. And to our listeners and viewers, this has been a wonderful Tuesday talk. If you are watching on YouTube, please leave comments. If you're watching on Facebook, leave comments. If you're watching on Instagram, you will likely be seeing a clip of this if you saw it on Instagram first, because it's too long for IGTV. So, but again, I want to thank Lena, Kalina, and John for joining me. This has been a Tuesday Talk with Polaris Orchestra, and I will see you all at the next one.